Hey babes, welcome to the podcast. It's Emily
and Abigail.
And on today's episode, we have our special guest, Miss
Evie. Hey
guys. So basically today's podcast, Evie and I kind of talked a little bit beforehand about what this podcast is really going to be about, and just having her experience with social media and just her story of finding her own identity apart from social media is so powerful. So we want her to share her story. We want to share just some encouragement from Miss Evie herself. So how do you think, like, first off, like, how do you think social media, like, influences, like, people our age or even, like, generations, like, older than us, younger than us? Like, how do you think, like, it's influencing us, or do you think it influences us at all?
Yeah, so social media is huge nowadays. You can see major companies actually moving over from general TV advertisements to social media ads. You know that every single social media app you get on, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, you see an ad every maybe 15 to 30 seconds because they're constantly trying to get things in front of your face. And the biggest thing is not only ads, but influencers. So once you get a big enough following, companies are like, oh, this person has a lot of attention. Let me see what I can give them to get my product in front of their fans' faces. So because they notice the following and the engagement, they're like, oh, this could be good for my brand. This could make me more money. And sometimes it can end up being a little bit manipulative, which is negative. But honestly, social media has two sides. So as much as I could say, oh, like, it's terrible, whatever, but it does have a positive side because people have increased their connectivity. Like, you can call someone from like halfway around the world and be connected with them through social media and make friends over social media. But I feel like if you don't withdraw yourself from the person who you are online to the person who you are in real life, then those kind of merge a little bit into the point where it becomes dangerous. And then your identity is reflected by likes and followers and how many comments you get on a post, whether negative or positive, and etc.
Is that, I think, like, straight on point with that. So, like, I know you, like, touched up a little bit on identity, but, like, what do you think is, like, so important about keeping your identity, like, separate? Like, share a little bit about your story, like, if you want to, about just, like, how, like, you found, like, your personal identity, how you made that differentiation between the two, like, between social media Evie versus Evie.
Right. So I started social media, I would say, about 6 years ago. I started after getting into acting. My parents put me into acting and modeling to boost my confidence. I wouldn't really talk. I was a really shy person. And little by little, I fell in love with, like, the means of production, like, from start to finish, like, writing, filming, editing, producing, kind of getting content out there. And my parents were kind of weary about it at first. They were like, okay, you can do it, but take it slow. Like, just don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Don't hop in, like, head first.
Yeah, they were like, just take it easy. And I was like, I really want to do this. So I slowly started with a YouTube channel and got bullied like crap for it through freshman year of high school. It got to the point where I did have to file a police report for cyberbullying. It was very bad. I ended up doing school online for the next 2 years after that because it really affected me. And at that point, I didn't blow up. Like, I was just posting content, being myself, just generally, like, introducing myself into social media and what that would mean.
Just kind of having fun with it.
Yeah.
And just kind of, like, the first, like, innocent stages of it.
Yeah, and it was at the point in social media where everything was more, like, lifestyle and, like, how-to tutorials and kind of a thing. So that's kind of, like, where I was getting at.
Yeah, OG YouTube. That was so much fun.
No, I loved it. I fell in love with it. I followed, like, a bunch of really big influencers, and I kind of took upon that, what I could be doing, and of course in, like, an innocent and fun way, like, family friendly and stuff. So little by little, it was growing steadily, and same thing with Instagram and such, and then TikTok happened.
Yeah.
So
TikTok.
No, seriously, I was very hesitant about TikTok at first. Back in 2019, it was very considered cringy. People were always like, "Oh my gosh, they're on TikTok!" Like, oh, like, stay away from me. But then COVID hit, 2020. And I was like, I kind of like the idea of just having these short bursts of content that keep people engaged. And at the time, people are on TikTok way more than YouTube. So I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And at that time, I was really, really just, like, trying to focus on, like, my health, like, my relationship with the Lord, and just, like, trying to get content out there. So I posted my first video And it blew up 300,000 views. And I was like, okay, this is happening. And then it just started to progress. The only thing I would have changed was like how often I posted. I got so almost swallowed by it that I went from posting like once or twice a day to 10 to 15 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And it would be about 80 to 90 videos a week. And that's like,
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's so lot.
That is
We're over here like trying to get 2.
Literally. Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I would constantly watch like advice videos or like how to grow your channel, how to do whatever. So I was constantly trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it would get as high as it did. Once I hit 10K, I was like, oh, this is cute. Like, I have a little family, like, hashtag smile squad. Like, it was super cute and
That's
innocent.
so cute.
Yeah, like, I had, like, cute little merch and just, like, positivity. The entire thing was positive-based. And since I did have a lot of Christian content on there, it started to get a little bit iffy because I had people from other religions who didn't like me, who post about me, get a lot of hate. And I really wasn't doing anything to them. I was just like, Jesus loves you. You know, have fun with that.
Yeah.
And then little by little, it creeped into more of like acting stuff or dances, and it slowly began to like become me, if that makes sense. Like almost tried to follow the trends more than listen to my creative mind of what I should be posting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gotcha.
You know,
gotcha.
so it's like, oh, a trend was out there. Oh, that trend is really cool. Does the song have a bad lyric? Maybe, but I can move past that. That was kind of my mindset. Like, it's just one bad word or just something small. And every small step became like a bigger step. But the thing is, the more steps I took in the trends direction, the more followers and traction I gained.
Oh, wow.
And the more like companies would reach out and be like, hey, we want to work with you. Like, we want to sponsor you with our product or create an advertisement on what we're doing. And in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, this could be like really big for me. So I slowly started shifting my content, and then my audience started to shift. And then this past year, 2021, during the summertime, I was just hanging out with some people online in a live stream, and it somehow got on the For You page and had over like 7,000, 8,000 viewers. I was petrified, but at the same time, I was like, this is like the best thing that could ever happen to like my career or whatever. From that point on, the pressure hit me like a truck. I was like,
Wow.
oh my goodness.
I
there's
couldn't
a lot of
imagine.
people. It's crazy because you don't realize like how many people are like watching you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like if I slip up, like it almost became like a mindset of perfectionism. Like I need to be perfect. I need to make sure that if I don't look a certain way or act a certain way, I'm gonna get hate. People won't like me. I'll lose my brand opportunities. It went from being fun and wholesome and like pure-hearted to very like pressurized and like
Consuming your thoughts too.
Yeah.
absolutely every
I
single
can imagine the
time.
amount of anxiety too, like that comes with that.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like it got to the point where like it started to affect my grades. I would start to get like panic attacks and like just wasn't even comfortable with who I was in myself. And then that would lead to like binge eating or like other like things that are just not healthy, you know? And then like
Led to a really unhealthy lifestyle
Exactly.
outside of the social media.
right. It's like I
Yeah.
wasn't on social media, but at the same time I was always thinking like, oh my gosh, what's my next move? Like how am I gonna do this? I'm like, there's so many steps. And then because of some friends that I made on TikTok, like I met a bunch of huge creators, which are very kind. But one thing that creators do to each other is they're always pushing them to make more content. They're like, oh, you should post this or do this trend or do this, which is kind in a way, but then it creates a slight sense of competition, which kind of creates a divide. And also some jealousy can kind of get in there and be like sabotaging and stuff. I mean, the people I met were fantastic, don't get me wrong. But I was slowly being pushed into the gaming world. And I started Twitch. And I was not a huge gamer. I loved playing video games, don't get me wrong, but it was more like with my brother or my friends. It
Like
was
casual.
It was very casual. There wasn't really any pressure on that. And then slowly they're like, you should start Twitch. Like, you'd be great on Twitch. You can make money on Twitch. And I was like, well, I'm already making money on TikTok and other platforms. Do I really need Twitch? That's kind of what I was thinking. So slowly started progressing into online gaming. And then I did that 3 times a week. So if you take that 3 times a week, online live streaming for 3 hours each stream, and then all of the videos I was posting, trying to keep up with my YouTube channel. I'm a college student, trying to keep up with my college student. I also had a job. So the amount of pressure just kept stacking like bricks, and I was slowly becoming crushed and crushed and crushed until like I got to my breaking point.
Wow.
And in through all of that, I realized like I kind of did like a 180, like to kind of see like where I was and where I am now. And I noticed that even though I had such a mentality of like earthly success, I was so far from God, which really hurt my heart essentially, because I was like what happened? Like,
well, that's kind of how you started out too, is just trying to post like positivity and post like, hey, like Jesus loves you, like all these things, and then like from there to where you were at, the point difference is completely different.
Literally, it was I started with a mindset of everything for the kingdom and slowly shifted to like everything for me. It became very pride-filled and self-centered. And the way I think that really contributed to that was basically I didn't have a backbone. I didn't have Christian friends to be like, hey, like watch out for your content, or like I wasn't even pouring into myself because I became so busy, quote unquote, with all the videos and all the stuff I had to do, that I became unplugged from like where I should have been with God a little bit. So this past like 2 months or 3 months, I've been off of social media. I completely took down all of my pages. I literally got to the point where it was like 330,000 followers, 4.4 million likes. Like, it was insane. And for an average person, it would be difficult to let that go. That is like something people crave at this age, I would say, because people are always going to be popular.
Agree. Yeah, everyone wants that level of success and acceptance, and definitely the followers, the likes, they definitely get to you like 110%. And like we even have to like balance, like we have to sit down and have conversations about like, okay, what's too much?
Right. Yeah.
What's the level of too much? Because again, we have to remember to stay grounded. And even just talking to you, I was like, wow, this is so inspiring, because it's like it takes a lot doing it together as two people holding each other accountable, much less doing it by yourself.
Yeah. Right.
And then coming to that realization of, hold on, I need to reground and come back to point A and really reevaluate
like where your foundation was.
Yeah. That kind of goes into our next question. How do you think people can kind of like stay true to their identity? How did you come back to like, hey, this is my identity as Ivee, not as Ivee the TikToker, Ivee the YouTuber, Ivee the social media influencer? Like, how did you like come back to the hobbies that you enjoy, not just making like videos and content constantly? Like, elaborate on that some more.
So it was kind of a hard divide of like, it was like almost overnight when I decided like I need to change something. This is affecting me too much, and it's starting to affect my friends, my family, and it's just not right. It's not healthy. And at the ENC conference, I got hit like a truck.
They always hit you like a truck.
Literally,
always.
I was crying, bawling my eyes out during worship. I was like, holy crap. Like the videos and stuff, the preaching, like all that kind of hit me and was like, you need to set a change. You've become so far from what you used to do, like loving to paint or just going on a picnic with friends for a Bible study, like very small things,
wholesome things, the little things that make everything wholesome.
Exactly. The little things that I used to enjoy, and just like not having to worry about looking perfect all the time, or trying to make sure that my makeup was like exactly what needed to be, like all of these little tiny tidbits of my life that I like missed. And that first ENC night, I rededicated my life to Christ. I was like, God, I don't want this anymore. Like, I need to be plugged in with you, because that's where true joy came from.
Yeah.
Like, I remember feeling so alone. And scared, and being like, oh my gosh, like it's literally just me and the screen. Like you don't see the people who are tapping the heart button or commenting. You just feel like, oh, I'm just gonna post, okay, it's done, another video. And it just becomes so repetitive.
It's not fulfilling.
It's really not. And I used to like actually, like, people would invite me out to places and I'd be like, no, sorry, I gotta have a live stream, or I've got to film today. And it became so self-isolating that that's where the anxiety and depression started to kind of like creep up on me.
Yeah.
But then, because I was kind of forced out of my element in the conference, I realized, holy crap, like these people.
Like, I'm missing out on all of this.
Right. And I was like, I actually found true friends, which is another thing I feel like is really important. When you get to that level of earthly success, or people are like, oh, wow, you're so cool, or whatever, you have so many followers, whatever, you know, whatever celebrity, people start to like the version of you they see online rather than who you are in real life. And it kind of hurts when you meet someone and then they kind of already knew, like, oh, you're on social media. They're like, oh, what kind of celebrity have you met? Or can you introduce me to this person? Or like,
and it's more about your connections than who you actually are.
Yeah, exactly.
You just get in a cycle of using.
Absolutely. And I would meet people who would be like, oh, help me with my TikTok, or help me with my YouTube, or do my thumbnail. And I'm like, do you want to like get coffee or something? Like, do you want to hang out, like watch a movie? Or it just became like completely just abused, I would say, in that sense, because none of my friends were like real. You know, they were all just like, oh, we're using you for views or for content or just to get something out of you. It was never a genuine connection of like wanting to spend time with you or like learn about each other or just like do life together.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really realized, like even like coming into like ENC and stuff, like I was like, whoa, these people like don't want like simply Ivee, the brand, the person. They want
Ivee.
And it's like, it's refreshing because I was just kind of like, had a mindset I would constantly be judged by things online that I'm like, am I good enough for regular people? Like it kind of scared me and had like a little bit of fear in that sense. But now I'm like, holy crap, I have people who like actually like me for like who I am.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to post a picture or a video or act a certain way just to be like, oh my gosh, like, hey guys, it's Ivee. Welcome back to my channel. Like, it's like,
You know what I mean? I get it. Yeah, no, totally.
It was so like on, off. And it was so draining, just mentally, spiritually, physically. I remember there'd be entire days when I would film and not even eat.
Wow.
Like, it's just
draining.
Consumed you. Yeah.
Emotionally and physically. Like, I know, like, even with us when we're recording and editing, like, some days we're just like,
absolutely,
we have to stop.
We're like, cut it.
Even if we're not done, we have to take a break because, my goodness, this is a lot.
It is
like,
a lot.
people don't realize how much work goes into it because they'll just see a video that goes viral and they're just like, oh wait, I can do that too. And it's like, pause. Do you really want to? Yeah. Like, do you really want to? And it does become that fine line of like that identity of whether I am going to be the social media influencer or whether I want to be that social media influencer. Because not all influencers are bad, but it's that line and healthy boundaries, I think, that come into play of whether or not you're capable of holding those boundaries or if it's just going to swallow you up.
Literally. Yeah.
What is probably like your biggest advice for, I mean, and like put social media aside, like even like we have a lot of high school listeners. We also have a lot of like college listeners as well, and some older as well. But like, what do you think is some of the biggest advice that you could give to someone who's trying to figure out who they are? So they are trying out all these trends. They're trying out all these new things. Like, how does someone like really find their true identity? And I mean, you obviously like said through Christ and everything like that, but what is your biggest advice to someone?
Like in a deeper sense?
Yeah.
So I would say my two biggest things are balance and relationships, because you will really just find your identity in a way through other people. I'm not saying that other people are to be idolized, but in the sense that like spending time like with my mom cooking, like I feel more like I am who I am. Or balance, meaning like if you're constantly, for example, as a college student or high school student, the majority of your time is spent doing homework. And if you slowly let your grades define how smart you are or how talented you are, or same thing with sports even, because some
especially
people,
with sports,
some people are like, oh, if my stats, or if like I didn't kick enough field goals, or I don't even know, like sports stuff.
No,
like,
literally.
You start to lose yourself and kind of think that your achievements are a representation of who you are, which is completely incorrect. And then when it comes to like the biblical sense of self, really just like plugging yourself into the Word of God, because the Bible tells you who you are. It tells you you're a child of God. You are like this amazing being that was created for a purpose. And if you lose sight of that, you kind of think that you're not enough. And all of these negative thoughts, which is just the enemy trying to like clog up your brain with all of this false information. So definitely like those things, like just creating balance, harmony in life, plugging yourself into the Word, and just making sure you surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up, rather than tear you to the ground and just completely just consume you.
Right. And I
Love
think
that.
that goes back to exactly what you were saying earlier about how like with balance, like you can, social media has a very bad side, but there's also the good side.
Right.
And it's like, if you have that balance and you're able to walk on that line and not dip on one side too much or
Right.
dip on the other too much, then you can like attain those dreams, attain what you want to do.
Absolutely.
But it is so important in every aspect to have balance. It's important, like if you work out, you also got to eat right.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, if you want to be living for Christ, you still got to be able to be in your word. You got to be able to be in a solid prayer life. If you want to get somewhere, there's going to take different things and different sacrifices.
Right.
And I think it's a matter of managing all of those. And especially as a high school and a college student, it's so easy to be solely focused on that one thing.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be like, that's my dream. That's what I'm going to focus on right now.
Right.
And I know even for myself and for Emily as well, we've had to be like, okay, yes, this is a dream. Yes, we love it. Yes, we're pouring into it. But realistically, we are in college with jobs and classes
with jobs.
and
Full-time.
and rent to pay and
Yeah.
like stuff,
Life.
and also wanting to enjoy those hobbies that you loved and missed, like picnics or painting, you know, just little things. And like for me, I was like, let's get back in basketball, it's time. So I went back and did that, you know, like enjoying those things.
Enjoying
and I
life.
think balance is such an important thing. I'm learning how to manage, because I think it's so easy to have a mindset of, I'm at the age where I have to figure out exactly what I want to do, and now
Right.
that I know exactly what I need to do, I'm gonna put everything into it and forget about everything else.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you are in your prayer life, you can trust that the Lord is guiding your steps, and you can trust that He is going to guide that path. And if you are doing what you love, but also making sure there is a balance of other things in your life, you can get to where you want to be. And so I think your story is like very inspiring to the fact of, you realize where your worth is, and you realize that your identity is not found in an image online.
Absolutely not.
Your identity is found in Christ and in Christ alone. And if you are a social media influencer, still, your identity is still found in Christ alone. It doesn't matter if you have 1 follower or 300,000 followers. You're loved just as much by God.
Absolutely.
It does not matter. So,
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And then this kind of leads into like our last question that we ask everybody, and it's kind of the biggest, scariest question, but it's also the most fun.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, where do we see Evie going? I know you had told me you have some fun things coming up. It's okay if you don't want to tell us. It's totally okay. But I know there's some fun things and everything. So where do you see yourself?
So, I do have a few things, a little bit of a jumble after kind of getting out of that constant, like, consuming thing. I've always had a passion for business and stuff. I'm majoring in marketing right now, which is super cool. And weirdly enough, it started as like a way to help my social media. But now that I know how social media works, I want to kind of pour it into something else. So currently, working on a startup. It's a faith-based activewear brand for both men and women. I'm really not sure where I'm going with it right now, but
I'm internally freaking out because I'm so excited. I'm going to be your first customer. Whenever it's ready, take my money.
Yeah, I'm literally just like taking it step by step with like the rebranding, the manufacturers, like getting the website together, just taking little things. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't allow myself to get overly consumed with that either.
Yeah.
So I just want to be like, I want this thing to happen, and I just want to make sure I do it right, and God willing, with everything that He wants me to do in my life. And
like
then
with His timing.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because sometimes we all like rush ahead of like what we really want. So, that's one aspect. And then another aspect is like, I fell in love back with the way I fell in love with production in the first place before I started my YouTube channel. I've always loved the producing and directing and stuff. So I do plan on trying to get back into that in a different sense, because I do have a lot of connections, but completely like faith-based. And I think that as long as I'm connected to the Lord's vine and I am getting that, just like getting filled with His word, then I can have the opportunity to pour into others in the same way that like I'm being poured into by my friends and family.
Yeah.
So it's more of just trying to figure out how I want to use the skills and talents that God has given me and kind of use that and push that through my passions to do the kingdom's work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So little by little, trying to understand where I want to be. Hopefully a successful business. 5 years. I mean, 5 years is not a lot of time. So maybe semi-successful, like picking up or something. I don't know. You can define successful the way you want to define it, but I just want to make sure that I am on the Lord's path and just enjoying life, honestly, with the people around me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Awesome.
We're excited. We're excited for whatever's coming. Thank you so much for coming on the Babe podcast. We absolutely loved hearing your story. You guys may or may not be hearing more of Ivee in the future. Let me just dropping that in there. But thank you so much. We appreciate having you. And do you have anything else you want to say?
I'm on the same page with Emily. Thanks for just sharing all of that. Yeah.
Of course. No, I loved being here. This is literally so cool.
So we will see you next Wednesday, babes. And there is going to be a big announcement on next week's episode. So make sure you tune in. There will be some changes, but they're going to be awesome. So we can't wait. So, yeah.
Yeah.
See you
next
next
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Bye, babes.